This is Talks Within Reach, episode 13. We'll be discussing the divisional round playoffs. Fancy, Matt, how we doing, boys?
What's going on?
I'm doing great.
Both of you should be doing great after the last weekend. Both of you guys should be riding the high into the sunset.
2/3 of us got it done.
Two-thirds of us got it done, which that's passing, kind of. And but I'm still gonna ask you guys the questions, and I don't expect any other answers than what I think is gonna happen. Any games this weekend that shocked you, that stood out in general?
Well, the game that shocked me was the Buccaneers game. The game that stood out, though, was the Packers game. And, I mean, there's nothing like going into Jerry's world after you get a new quarterback, after the 12 people you work with riding your ass all week long about the 72 sacks they're going to get on Jordan Love and the CeeDee Lamb first down, all this shit. And then what? And then what?
What happened? What happened?
And then, oh, fuck. Pick six, sacks. I mean, Jordan Love connecting like there was nobody else. Like it was practice. I mean, it was like he was just at the combine. He was just throwing like a pro day. Like there was nobody to even worry about touching him, and there was nobody in the area. Sometimes you had to zoom out how far to find a nearest defender. I mean, absolutely outworked Mike McCarthy, which I'm sure was embarrassing for him and satisfying for Matt LaFleur. And it's like, I mean, 48-16 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I honestly at that point was concerned legitimately for Jerry Jones's health, because I said there's no way he's not up there with EMTs strapping an AED to his chest and just waiting for him to code, because I mean, 27-7 at the half. I mean, just everything going wrong for the Cowboys, everything going right for the Packers. The whole world was happy to see it. And I just have one question for all of our listeners out there. What more do we have to do to take America's team away from the Cowboys? Because we do it to them.
I was literally fingers crossed that you would literally say, I have one more question. How about them Cowboys? I literally thought that's what you're going to end that sentence with, and that would have been legendary. Yeah, I mean, I will say Jordan Love made some throws that if you put a different number on the jersey, I would have thought was Rodgers playing. With those step back off no leg throws that Rodgers used to do. You can tell he's been under Rodgers for a few years, and he's gotten some of that in his system now. That was really cool to see. Matt, how about you?
That goes back to the Brett Favre days. Brett Favre was feet in the air, back foot, sling it. So
absolutely.
Anyways, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Well, so I want to continue the NFC North, obviously, but before that, how does Green Bay keep getting it done with these quarterbacks? Like that's my takeaway from this is I know we talked about it last week, about Jordan Love just coming alive this back half of the season and actually, maybe he is the quarterback, right? Like to me, that was my takeaway of his this playoff game for him solidified him being the Packers quarterback that we knew he probably could be. So to me, that's my biggest takeaway of the just absolute massacre.
That's fun that you bring that up because I think Brett Favre had 3 or 4 head coaches. I don't remember exactly. And then, so Mike McCarthy went from Brett Favre to Rodgers, and Rodgers went from Mike McCarthy to LaFleur. So Jordan Love might go from LaFleur to somebody else, and so it's like nothing really consistent that I can say. I mean, it's
other than the next quarterback getting a chance to develop.
Right, time to sit behind them.
Yeah, not just getting thrown into the fire.
I think that's such a big thing from nowadays. It's literally, like when Trubisky got drafted to the Bears, when Fields got drafted to the Bears, like Zach Wilson with the Jets. It's like these guys get drafted, they have no NFL experience, clearly, right? And then they get thrown into a poverty team, and they're like, "Good luck." And if you're not Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and everything else, it's like, well, he's a bust. It's like,
you have to be blessed.
Your backup quarterback is fucking Mike Glennon, who never had. It's like, what is he going to teach this guy? Like, I don't. It's like that quarterback room is important. I've always thought that was funny. It's like, a quarterback throws an interception, and I'm not saying, because the quarterbacks in the NFL are clearly the best in the world. Even the backups, they're far better than most quarterbacks in college, like a lot of things, right? So I'm not discrediting them, but I've always thought it's funny when a guy like, Mahomes, right? He throws a pick, they go to sideline, they got a tab, and it's him, the offensive coordinator, and then it's literally, I think what is it, Blake Gabbert or Blaine Gabbert or whatever for the fucking
Yeah. Yeah.
He failed miserably in his starting career. What is he telling Patrick Mahomes that he doesn't know?
Mhm.
Right.
When I think about that, think about a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid who's getting advice from someone who failed. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where a lot of these teams, they're too quick on the trigger. They're too quick to get rid of these quarterbacks. They're too quick to put them in. Like, if you're going to put them in, leave them in. I mean, look what happened with Peyton Manning. He literally set the rookie record for most interceptions. I think he still holds it.
Yeah.
I'll beat him this year.
Yeah.
But it's like, and look what happened there. They could have easily just been like, this is not our guy. Let's draft another one. And they didn't. And it ended up being Peyton Manning. Like, there's another world where the Colts move on from Peyton Manning early on, like how today's world is, and we never get to see Peyton Manning pan out. It's like,
Right.
But another thing that I thought before we move on is, I thought this was cool. Jordan Love versus the Cowboys this weekend, 16 for 21, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a win, right?
Yeah.
Then you got CJ Stroud, 16 for 21, which is the same exact completion as Love, 274 yards, so 2 more yards than Love, and 3 touchdowns and a win. Like, their first playoff appearances, right? I know Jordan Love's not a rookie, right? But his first starting year, and then a rookie, it's like their first playoff games are literally the most identical. I mean, they both hit a 157.2 passer rating and a win. It's like,
that's
crazy stat to
40 plus
see.
points, huge. Just
being both of them, both great offensive,
both underdogs, or
correct.
the
Texans were underdogs against the Browns.
Okay.
The Browns were supposed to go in and beat them. Yep.
Yeah, that's wow.
Which, I mean, look, good for them, man. The future is definitely bright when it comes to those teams, no matter what happens this week. But we'll go into the divisional round. The Saturday games. We have the first matchup will be at 4:30 Eastern. The Texans go into Baltimore. And we got Fancy and Matt both taking Baltimore, and I took Houston. So I'll let you boys go first on that one. Give me the rundown of the Ravens #1 seed coming off the bye.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Lamar Jackson has this offense humming. I think combination of him being here before and on top of that, the defense. I think the defense can contain what has been an outstanding first playoff game for CJ Stroud. I think the Ravens just outmatch them basically in all categories. So they're the #1 seed for a reason, and I think they're the ones that can definitely outman a Houston team.
Yep. Fancy.
I was on the fence. I think either one could really pull out ahead of this and not like a big lead, but maintain a 10 to 13 point lead and just hang on to it through the game. Off of one mistake from one quarterback or the other, a defensive turnover turns into 7 points. That will be the gap that holds the difference. I went with the Ravens for everything Matt said, but I could see the Texans doing the same thing to the Ravens.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with every single one of you guys' points. I think I'm just playing like devil's advocate here of, we've seen in the past, how many times have we seen a team #1 seed get that bye, and it's the worst thing that can happen for them? So how are the Ravens going to respond after a bye week? That's going to be the biggest talk of the entire week is what are the Baltimore Ravens going to do off the bye? Like you said, the offense was humming. Now not playing in the last game, not getting any snaps in the last game of week 18, and then not playing the first round in the wild card. It's like they haven't played in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
And no momentum. I mean, the Texans are coming off a big win.
And so that's one thing for me is not that the Ravens aren't hungry for it, but the Texans just lit up a Browns defense that we arguably put in best defense.
Top five.
Yeah, easily, right? And they were, everyone said, I said it myself, CJ Stroud, not good against good, top defenses. That's always been the thing all years. When he goes against top defense like the Jets, like, all these other teams, he's struggled. And he lit up that Browns defense and made them look silly. So I just think D'Amico Ryans, it'll be interesting. It's more of a fan pick for me, I guess, if you will. Not that I'm a fan of the Texans, but I'm a fan of CJ Stroud.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I would like to see. I'm okay with either one that comes out of this. It's not like I really am rooting for one or the other. But I think, and maybe it's a hot take, I think CJ Stroud has more of an impact to his team than Lamar Jackson does.
I mean,
Okay.
Because when I think about the Ravens, I think of their defense and I think of their run game. That's the first thing. That's the
True.
first thing to think of. I don't think of Lamar Jackson throwing 400 yards for 4 touchdowns like CJ Stroud. I think of the team. If the Ravens play Ravens football, they win the game. But if it's put into Lamar's hand, I will take my if the defense is struggling and it's up to Lamar and that offense, I'm taking the Texans.
So to me, I think the reason you have that opinion to me is the fact that Lamar, the Ravens and Lamar were able to get it done by different means. So, basically you're going to see Lamar's stats just shrink from, I don't know what weeks it was, week like 6 to week 10 or something like that. Gus was getting 2-3 touchdowns a game, right? It was he wasn't getting the productivity that we normally see, and we think of him as the elite quarterback because of that run game being dominant.
Right.
And that's when Kyron Mitchell was coming alive too. The rookie was actually taking over the run game as that explosive running back too. So that being said, I think if the running game for some reason isn't there, that's where then Lamar kicks it into gear, and then he uses his feet and he's able to get it done too.
Yeah.
So, and an interesting piece though to I saw the reports. I don't know if you did. Mark Andrews was out on the practice field.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
It would be really interesting to see if he gets back.
What was the injury on that? Like, I know he got hurt and Isaiah Likely has been in, but like,
it was a significant knee injury. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean,
when I just look at it and I'm like, man, the Texans offense just seems better than the Ravens. And like you said, Gus Edwards and the run game, Justice Hill. I mean, all those guys, they take touchdowns away. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just if it's gonna be an offensive shootout, I like the Texans.
So I like your pick, but like I kind of noticing your picks, like as we look at the big picture of here, I only wanted to pick one underdog. I only wanted to pick, one kind of story out of here that we take away. Other than that, I kind of try to lean towards,
favorite
who we think.
I don't know who you thought was an underdog. I know it's on
Bills.
the Packers.
Bills.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
I'm pretty sure.
Feelings now. Come on, we're only 14 minutes in.
Hey, I'm pretty sure. Hey, I picked them too. We'll get to this pick.
Yeah, that's.
They got to be like a 9.5 point underdog.
Fancy was telling me. Fancy, do you still have that up? Fancy was telling me the Texans are +9.
Yes, +9.5. Yeah,
+9.5, and the Packers were like +9.5 as well, or whatever. Like,
yeah, we're 9.5 also.
saying.
Yeah,
so both the games on Saturdays are +9.5. Like, I might just take both of those games, both those spreads. It's like that's
a big gap. Yeah,
yeah.
The
teams that just
article?
that just came off a win. It's kind of tough to think.
The
So I mean, we'll see what happens in that game. But I mean, both quarterbacks. I love Lamar. Love CJ Stroud. Definitely a good future ahead of both of them in the NFL. Maybe an MVP season for Lamar as well. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? But that was the underdog take for me in all these games here. Which moves us on to the night game Saturday night. Hopefully, Fancy, you're not working.
I will be at work watching this game.
Ooh.
Listen there, boss. I hope my boss is listening. I will be watching this game.
That means Fancy's calling in sick. We got Packers and 49ers. Packers going into San Francisco. 49ers I went with, and Matt and Fancy went with the Packers. So once again, I'll let you boys go first. I kind of first want to hear from Matt, if that's okay.
Be my guest.
Because the NFC North typically roots against each other. There's that rivalry, there's that whatever, and I just want to hear. It just surprised me a little bit. That's all. So I want to hear.
So honestly, I took the opposite approach. To me, it's the camaraderie of I would love to see an NFC North championship game. Like, to me, that's so much more for our division here if somehow Green Bay Packers can get it done. So it's almost me like kind of just rooting for that cool story of
a divisional legacy playing against each other.
That would be
that's what I'm saying.
How many times has that happened?
It happened the last time we won the Super Bowl against the Bears, against Urlacher. 2010. Yeah, we had to play the Bears last game.
Days, right?
Yeah. That was the last game getting in, just like we had to fight to get in this time against the Bears. We beat the Bears to get into the playoffs wild card, and then we had to beat the Bears in the NFC Championship.
Wow, I did not know that.
So it would be history repeating itself if that was the case.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so that's what, and again, I think the other part of it was, and I tried to pull up the stat. I don't quite have it, other than obviously home field advantage is a huge thing. So I picked 3 of the teams that are at home to win it in this scenario. To me, that was my underdog pick. The Packers looked great. And then the way I saw Purdy just absolutely play awful, that 4 interception game or whatever it was, like, that could happen again. And how well the Packers were playing, they're going to win that game. So
yeah, I mean, like a lot of the Cowboys fans have said, they lost that game in the first quarter. They lost the game in the first quarter with all the picks, all the the pick six, the turnovers. I mean, and quickly the Packers capitalized on it, which was ultimately the reason they won that game. So, like, obviously, congrats to the Packers. But I will ask you this before we get Fancy's take on it. Was part of your pick hoping that you don't have to play the 49ers? And and if that is the case, I guess go ahead and answer that, I guess.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So are you not then, backup question, are you not nervous to play a divisional game when you know what can happen in those things, rather than just playing a team where you know what you're going to get?
Do you not remember Thanksgiving? Does that not haunt you at all?
Thank you, Fancy.
At all. I'm not even bringing up talking shit. I'm
so
saying, like, that game is fine.
Do you have more like insecurities and worries with going against the Packers? I mean, obviously you're at home, but we saw what happened on Thanksgiving. And then it's like, or would you rather just go against the team where it's like, okay, hey, we beat the Rams, we beat the Bucks, we beat the 49ers, and then now you're in the Super Bowl. Like, it's like,
yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'd rather play at home.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And especially, you saw the stat was, I don't know if it was like the 4th loudest, 133.6 decibels. Yeah. And, Jake, we already talked about that before. You were in that atmosphere.
That was like the first season where everything was kind of shifting and everyone was pumped. It was like, I think it was sold out when we went.
Yeah. And so that was probably the similar feeling. I can only imagine
how much more.
Our first playoff game, right, at 133 decibels. I can't imagine now, divisional round and then championship games, if this momentum keeps going, that place is going to be, you're not going to be able to play in that at Ford Field. So to me,
we saw the Rams take 2 timeouts in the second half before like in the third quarter, I think, right? Stafford took 2 timeouts because of play clock. Yeah. Which was like, when I saw it, I was like, man, like, because they couldn't get it set, they couldn't get it going.
Yeah. So to me, that's kind of where I was leaning.
Yeah.
Is I'd actually almost, you're right though. That does scare me, the fact that we've lost to them, right? But at the same time, put all those factors aside, being at home for one more game, and it's actually to go to the Super Bowl, I'd rather be at home.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Absolutely. And I think even if it pans out where Lions win and the 49ers win, I think it's still going to be a good matchup between you guys. Because, like I said, as long as Goff is still in somewhere that's not freezing, he's going to play well. Like, the 49ers should still be 50, 60, 70 in between that. it's not going to be one of these freezing temp games, which we'll get into later. But Fancy, let's get your take on the Packers here.
Yeah. So to speak on that, Dak Prescott, I think, was the number one touchdown throwing quarterback, and Jordan Love was number 2. I don't know where Brock Purdy fell in that, but we were able to shut down Dak Prescott. I mean, a little bit of pressure on Prescott, everybody knows he cracks. Brock Purdy, like you talk about with the 4 interception game, if we can maintain that same pressure with 4 people and just cover, I mean, I don't consider Ayuk as good as CD, and I don't think their depth is as good as the Cowboys. And so, not to say you can't run the same plan because they saw that plan, but in an essence, that same idea of just put enough pressure on him with the coverage that we had on our receivers. I think the Niners offense folds, and as long as you can keep Bosa away from Jordan Love, I mean Jordan Love, he was hit a few times after he released, which I thought, depending on the quarterback, that might have got a penalty. And it didn't, and I'm okay with that because they kept it consistent. But it's like they didn't get any pressure on him. There was no sacks. Jordan Love was comfortable in the pocket, and if they can maintain that kind of protection in the pocket for Jordan Love, I mean, I don't want to say a repeat because I think 48 points is a lot, but we're getting our revenge for our NFC Championship games that we lost to the Niners in Green Bay this weekend.
Yeah, what a great tribute to Rodgers that would be.
Yeah, we're doing it for him and
I will
Achilles
say
tendon.
this is a cool thing that I just showed because you mentioned that Dak was number 1, right? So Dak's
Yeah.
out of the picture, but you got Jordan Love at number 2,
Yeah.
right? You got Brock Purdy at number 3. You got Jared Goff at number 4, and you got Baker at 7. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Who's in between those?
That would be Josh Allen and Tua in between, and then Patrick Mahomes is just on the outside. So you got Josh Allen and
so
Patrick
Josh Allen's
Mahomes
still
are
in there.
still in.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
CJ Stroud just is out of there at 13, tied for 13. He missed a lot of games, 23
Right.
touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So you give him a couple more games, he'd be up there as well. But I mean, even Russell Wilson getting into the top 10 with their car.
But it's funny you mentioned like the quarterbacks that have scored the touchdowns, and you go back to some of our games we've played where I've always picked, I want the guy that scores the points. Because look where the points get you at the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, and all have great, touchdown to interception ratios, to be honest with you. Almost 2-to-1 on every category. So I mean,
I think Love is 9-1 touchdown to interceptions in the last 9 games or
yeah, he's
6 games or something like that.
32-11 as far as the season goes.
Overall season.
Yeah, so it's not bad. It's about 3-to-1. You include the postseason, and he's over 3-to-1, which you'll take 3-to-1 all day long.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Goff, 30-12. So I mean, about the same
nice.
thing, but very interesting. To think about, Matt, to play devil's advocate of you again on another matchup. How often have we seen 4 interceptions from Brock Purdy, right? So, the Packers are going to be hoping for another kind of unicorn game. Not saying that he can't turn it into Brock Purdy because we've definitely seen it. But I'd assume with the time off, I'd assume with whatever the mistakes are going to be fixed. They're at home. That place is going to be loud because they were upset last year with having all those injuries and losing the NFC Championship to the Eagles. So they're going to be fired up as well.
Well, what's the difference? What's the X factor that we haven't talked about yet for the 49ers? We're talking about the quarterback,
right.
but the position that really is CMC. The most valuable for them is CMC. Yeah. So we can talk about how bad Purdy could be, but you're not telling me if you just get that ball in CMC's hands.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not a game changer,
so
right?
When you're game planning, Cam Newton called him, a game manager, right? And so it's like when you're planning it after a 4 interception game, do you think the ball's going to be in his hand a lot? Like now they're not towards the end of the season, they want to put the ball in his hand more because they wanted to give CMC time to rest up, time to not get hurt and have him for playoffs. Well, now it's playoff time. He's going to get fucking 20 touches, whether that's catches and rushing attempts. That dude's going to get they're not putting in Elijah Mitchell. They're using CMC every play. And it's like you got Kittle healthy, you got Debo healthy, you got Brandon Ayuk healthy. It's going to be tough for the Packers to, because Jair can only cover 1. And
Darnell Savage is who I really shout out the MVP to as far as
he played very well.
he did a lot. My biggest thing, and I totally agree with you about CMC, but as we all know, he's prone to injury. He hasn't been hurt, and it's like, is he fragile? Is he one good tackle away
I don't
from
think so. It's
being
been
out of
2
the
years,
picture?
no injury.
Exactly. So
But I
it's
would
like
say that's
run
fragile,
back
though.
around.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying like it's like he's worn down, long season. He's been
That's what I'm
putting up
saying is
numbers.
Elijah
So
Mitchell has gotten so many more carries the last 3 weeks of the season, so they've
Mhm.
slowly turned his
right. He's
load a
trying
little
to
bit
slow him
down.
down.
Yeah.
I would be worried as a Niners fan. I'd be like, just like I am with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. It's like, look, they've been in and out. They're fine. I hope they're there this week, and I hope they're there all game.
Yeah.
That's all. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying is I
I mean,
hope
same
is
thing,
will
you
he
can
be
say the
there
same
all
thing
game?
about Jordan Love too, right? He hasn't been hurt yet. Nick Bosa, Chase Young. Nick Bosa's got a chip on his shoulder too. Great
That's what I
matchup for
said.
him.
That was my point. Was if they can protect Love against the Niners defense like they did on Sunday. I
And the
mean,
Niners defense hasn't been that scary. I don't think that it's like
no,
they should be a lot better than what they
no,
actually are.
no,
Um,
very much so.
but yeah, then we move on to the Sunday games. Um, in our first matchup, starting at 2:00 Central, 3:00 Eastern, we got the Bucks going into Detroit. Fancy took the Bucks, and me and Matt took the Lions. I'm shocker that Matt took the Lions. Didn't go for reverse jinx there or anything. So I guess I'll just start off and then let you hum the way away with the. You know what, you can take it. It's your team. Um, give me the rundown. Give me the. You guys
Yeah,
putting up
sure.
90 points, 80 points.
All right, so you're gonna hear "Forward Down the Field," which is the anthem we sing when we score a
You're gonna give
touchdown.
it to us.
No, I can't do that.
Okay.
You're gonna hear that. I would say 5 times.
Okay.
I think you saw it last game. Gibbs got in, Montgomery got in, Laporta got in. I think where we can hammer him here too is I think Amon-Ra needs to get in the end zone. He did really good productively last game, but if he can find the end zone as well as Montgomery and Gibbs, whatever combination wants to get in, I don't care. I think we can score easily 5 touchdowns against this team. The downside is, right, can Baker keep up with them and be the gunslinger we saw out of him? So that's the only scary part is, but I don't think they can match it, the intensity. If for some reason they can, do a shootout, that's where we might have trouble. So I like I told you, I like the atmosphere. I think we're going to give Baker some trouble with all that noise, and he's not going to be planting a flag in the middle of the field come Sunday.
When he's going to bring it. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like when I think about the Lions, I always think of the 1-2 punch, just like you guys had last year with Swift and Jamal Williams. You guys have Montgomery to put it down your throat, and then you got Gibbs to hit the outside and beat you down the
Pause.
field. And when you think about the Bucks, what is one thing their defense does good? The run defense. The run defense is known to be great all season. Besides the 1 week that the Eagles ran on them in like week 3 when DeAndre Swift went for like 200 plus yards total. It's like, besides that, they've shut down like every running back that they've gone against. So what worries me a little bit in this matchup is that they stop your run game. It puts more pressure on Jared Goff, and then what happens then? You know what I mean? If they turn into a defensive matchup, how do the Lions respond?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the way we used Montgomery. I feel like we didn't use Gibbs as much. Like we typically did. I feel like those explosive plays we like to see out of Gibbs. I didn't see him as much, right?
Yeah. I mean,
so that's the difference of. But we were able to use Reynolds. We were able to use Amon-Ra. We were able to use
a lot on that first drive.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like even because the run D for the Rams too. So I feel like we were able to find a way to get it done other ways. So it doesn't scare me as much. Kind of like what you're saying is, I think we can find other ways.
Yeah, that was my only downside. But I do think with just how well, I think the Rams were a lot better team than people give them credit for. Like I really do think they could have went if they would have got past you. I really do think they could have gotten pretty far.
Yeah, I mean,
into
did you
playoffs.
see Puka? Did you see Puka's numbers? I mean,
They were unbelievable. Like
that
the
that's
man's a
insane for a
monster.
rookie.
Yeah,
So
he's an absolute monster. Like you said, it'll be interesting if Baker can do it again. But Fancy, go ahead, give us your take on the Bucks.
I mean, I love MCDC, and I like Jared Goff. And when I think about this game, what I think about the most is when it comes to the heart of the quarterbacks that are both playing is who's got a bigger chip on their shoulder, who's trying to prove it more. Stafford went and won a fucking Super Bowl with the team that Goff couldn't win it with, right? Goff gets the freaking Lions to the playoffs that Stafford couldn't get them to. So now it's like finish it out. And me and Matt talked about this earlier in the text, and it's like Baker Mayfield's been tossed around, kind of brushed aside, and he's doing. I mean, the record doesn't show what he's done this season, and I mean, I think it's a close game, just like I thought with the Texans and the Ravens. I think it comes down to the end. Whoever's got the ball last. In that matchup they had earlier this season, I think was a pretty good idea of what we're going to see this week. And that was one of those things. I mean, 40 seconds left or 50 seconds left and no timeouts, and Jared Goff got it done. But I think they're better prepared for that, and they're not going to let it happen again.
It is interesting because when you go into the season and you think about some of the juggernaut teams that were like there, and it's like you look at like the 4 teams that are left for the NFC, right? And they're led by Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, and Jared Goff. Like it's no jab to any of you guys, and I know statistics tell us otherwise after the season, but it's like when you think of those 4 guys, you don't think going into the season those are franchise top 5 guys. Like you look at the AFC now, you have Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. You can get rid of C.J. Stroud because we didn't know that ahead of the season. But if I were to tell you, going into the last 4 games or 4 teams,
which 3 were more likely to be there
Lamar
for
Jackson,
each side?
Josh Allen, and whatever. And then in the NFC, you'd probably pretty, I guess, whatever. But
arguable.
There was that weird thing where like, what are they going to do?
I'm thinking Purdy, Hurts, maybe Prescott. Like that. That's who I was coming to mind. Cousins, Cousins. If he hadn't gotten hurt,
that's what I mean.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Because there's, like you said, there's a lot of like Baker's been tossed around. Jared Goff is trying to do it for the city thing. I don't know, Matt, if you heard the David Montgomery story, that was shared today. Did you read that at all? Or no?
I didn't.
He was feeling it. He was filling his pump up, at the gas station or whatever, and some lady walked up to him and said, like, thank you so much for like finally bringing a playoff win to the city or whatever. And she was in tears, and he gave her a hug and stuff like that. And he just said, like, thanks for believing us. It's like it means a lot to the city of Detroit. It means a lot to the players, and just like it means a lot to Baker too. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, Purdy's got to get it done again because they think he's a bust. They think he's whatever. There's a lot of stories on the NFC side where I feel like, not that this next game we're going to talk about, the Chiefs and Bills, isn't a good story, or the Texans Ravens, but it's one of those things where these games are a lot less expected than.
Oh yeah, all the quarterbacks on the NFC side have something to prove.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're either following big shoes or trying to turn a franchise around or have been tossed around. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely incredible.
Really
or Purdy just trying to get a contract, right?
I mean, you've got Mr. Irrelevant.
You're following no money, man.
Yeah. You're literally the last pick of the draft. You're following Aaron Rodgers. Your last quarterback for this team went to the Super Bowl with your team, and then fucking been on 4 different teams in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you talk about a fucking movie.
Yep. Literally.
You talk about a movie.
Yep.
Insane. So excited.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. It all play out and everything. And then our last game, dude, we only have like after these games this weekend, we only have 3 football games left. That's like depression.
Illuminati just canceled his stream.
Did he?
Fun fact.
The last game of Sunday though, 5:30 start too, which is kind of a weird. Which I don't mind. That's fine with me. Get it out of the way early on. That way I don't got to stay up later.
Well,
on a Sunday.
one thing I was noticing, you're talking about the times being weird. One thing I thought of is, don't we typically? Maybe I'm just thinking about it wrong. I thought we typically saw AFC play on the same day and
Nope.
NFC play on the same
Nope.
day. So there's not a different.
It's always been the other day because teams are always waiting to see what they who they're gonna play. That's always how it's been. Like, it's
that's
always
what it
been
was.
weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I did think that, and then I remembered like last year when I remember like the Eagles had won, we advanced to the NFC Championship, and we like had to wait a day to see if we were playing the 49ers or whoever else. Whoever else they're playing, and we were like, it was like you were sitting there watching, like, yep, we're playing the 49ers. It's like, so it was always that weird. I think they kind of do that to try, and then they flip flop it, right? So they start off AFC, NFC. And then they do NFC, AFC. Like, that way it's, whatever.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it'll be interesting. But the Bills game, I have some Fancy mentioned to me earlier, which I knew. I don't know if you know this, Matt, but this will be the first road game for Mahomes in his playoff history. He's never played a game on the road.
Okay.
Never. He's either been at Arrowhead or at the Super Bowl, which is a crazy fact.
That is a wild fact.
He's think about how many playoff games he's been in. Like, that's insane.
And if the Dolphins would have beat the Bills in the last game of the regular season, that streak would still be going, right? I think that's how that would have worked.
Yeah, they were home no matter what because they were divisional.
Who was home no matter what?
Chiefs in the first round.
Right, but I'm saying they would have been seeded.
Oh, I'm sorry, you meant this. Yes,
number
yes,
two.
Yes.
I'm saying the regular season, if the Dolphins would have beat the Bills instead, then Bills wouldn't have made it at all. Chiefs would have been number 2, and then I think the Dolphins would have been number 4 or 5, whoever the Chiefs are at. I think it was something crazy like that. And it's like, you know how the playoffs get when it's like, well, if this one, and all of a sudden everything changes.
If the Dolphins won, they kept 2 seed.
Yeah, they won. They would have won the division and kept 2 seed. But the difference would be, the way I was explaining it, I was kind of banking on the Jaguars winning and being in. That's when the Bills would have dropped off.
Yeah, they lost.
That's what. Yeah. The Jags winning.
So yeah,
that's what would have thrown everything.
Yeah, they would have been playing the Dolphins in Miami, or they'd been playing the Bills in Buffalo.
Right.
So, but either way, the weather is insane there again. They're saying like it's gonna be like -30 during the game again, like crazy shit. And it's like I saw, I don't know, I'm not good with names, but the referee staff that got appointed or whatever, Mahomes is like 12-2 with this guy with the least amount of penalties on him, and the Bills, it's like it's not the most flags they've had, but it's like the highest percentage versus the plays called on the Bills than they and all of the refs thing. So it's like they literally are going into Buffalo with the highest rated refs for Mahomes and the lowest rated refs for the Bills, like in terms of like, flags thrown and everything. And I'm like,
that's going to be controversial.
I'm like, here we go. It's like that wasn't scripted at all. Mahomes, it's like even on the road he can get it done. I can already hear it. It's like,
if Chris Collinsworth just slobbing on it,
dude. I saw a video and it's like Tony Romo, like Tony Romo, like announcing this game because this game's gonna be on CBS. I'm pretty sure. And it was literally what's his name from the hot dog eating contest that always wins. Like, what is his name?
I don't know. I got one.
He wins it every year, like something Chestnut or whatever. It's like
Joey Chestnut.
Joey. And he's just fucking. It was like Tony Romo announcing the game because he loves Josh Allen, he loves Patrick Mahomes, and it was literally just fucking hot dogs being fucking shoved down his face. And I was like, dude, that he's gonna have a field day, dude. Like Romo is just not gonna he's just not gonna stop talking. Like he's gonna be like all over it.
It's so funny. I don't know what he's better at choking on, playoff games or quarterbacks. So,
that's a fair point. But me and Matt took the Bills, and Fancy, you shockingly took the Chiefs, probably for the fam at home. But I will say, I just love Josh Allen. Like this weather, I think of the Bills. Like I just think of Bills Mafia. I think this is like the best case scenario for them. When I think about, not that Mahomes didn't look good, in the matchup against the Dolphins, I just think the Dolphins look like shit, and it was just like a little bit easier. I think the Bills, like they just played in this, like it's just like the Chiefs did. They just played in it and they looked good, and so it's like the Bills. I told you guys a few weeks ago at the end of the season, and once they fired I said it when they fired their offensive coordinator. I said just look out, this team's gonna start rolling. The next week, they scored 42 points. And we were like, yeah, well, look who they played up against. And it was the Jets. But I was like, hey, the Jets got a good defense. And then they won the next week. And then the next week. And they started rolling. I'm like, this team figured it out. They figured it out. Sean McDermott gave the 9/11 speech, and everything turned around.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. He's undefeated since the 9/11 speech. So
Right.
this team's booming figuratively. And I just like them in this matchup at home. I want to see the Chiefs get sent home. I want to hear all the Chiefs fans say that this wasn't their year, that they didn't have the weapons, and that blah blah blah. Mahomes needs help and all this other stuff. I want to hear all of that, and see Josh Allen go to an AFC championship.
That's interesting because I do think that since the 9/11 speech, the Bills have been on a roll. I'll agree with you there, but this right here, we will consider this the withdrawal from the Middle East, and it's not going to go great. It's not going to go great, guys. And the only reason I say, I mean,
Parking lots?
you know, let me refocus. The Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen have met up in the playoffs before, and the victor so far has been Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He might have his number,
but to play devil's advocate, Josh Allen has never been home.
Right. And I mean, with that being said, the weather that the Bills dealt with was snowier, but not as cold as what.
But they're still used to it. Like that's Buffalo weather.
Sure. I mean, it's Buffalo weather, but I think the weather is going to be out of the picture. And once again, I just think Andy Reid is in my coaches Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And as far as best quarterbacks on this list overall is Patrick Mahomes, which I don't want to kind of foreshadow whatever we're getting into next, but it's just hard to bet against him. There's a reason why he's never had a road playoff game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's absolutely fair. One thing that I factored into too, you're not wrong. Like the Bills played more snow, the Chiefs played more cold, and now they're going to play the same thing. Was the Bills don't have what the Chiefs had, and a lot of people didn't know this, but the Chiefs have in 2016, so 8 years ago, they installed an underground heating system. So during that game, the field was still 50 degrees. So they didn't actually play in negative 30. This is negative 30 now. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was cold. I'm not saying it's not. But the Chiefs, when we went there, it's underground. So there's no wind from it being down. So you don't get cut through that wind a lot. There is a
lot of wind on the field.
No, I'm just saying, but like in general, the way their stadium is set up and now the underground system of being, having the heat, it wasn't as cold as they were saying it was. I think it's going to be colder in that Bills game, and I think it's going to be a little bit different. And I just think, like, when I think about the overall teams, like we mentioned the Ravens-Texans. The Ravens have an overall better team. The 49ers have an overall better team. The Lions have an overall better team. The Bills just have a overall better team, and they're at home. It's just like that's just what I love about it. Josh Allen, like, this is his weather game. So that's just what I
think the home field advantage for the Bills will not necessarily be the heated, but the difference between like their fucking
and their fans throwing the snowballs, that kind of pissed me off. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I hated that. Like,
I'm surprised that isn't like, I don't know how long
it's gonna. Remember last year he got flagged.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like they're gonna have to do more about it, and I think it's gonna fall on the home team to do better about snow removal.
Yeah, they got there and just.
I mean, they have to.
I mean, they spent. Let's be honest. The Bills spent like 3 days.
Yes, shoveling. Yeah,
trying to shovel that stuff out of there. So they must have just given up.
They didn't do a good job. The rules were they only opened to like the first 200 people to show up.
Yeah. So a fun fact about that game is, I guess there was only like in the lower sections, those were all like assigned seats, but everywhere else was sit wherever you want. If you shoveled it out, you could just pay a ticket and get in, and you could just sit wherever the hell you want. As long as you aren't in the marketed thing. And I was like, it would kind of piss me off though. Like, imagine just going to grab a beer or something and you come back and you lost your seat. It's like, yeah. I don't know how that all works. So.
That's why those fans are all fucked. But that's the biggest thing is that they had such a weird way of shoveling it compared to the way that we do it in Green Bay. And I say
we got a lot more snow though.
But we also allow anybody and everybody to show up.
So they
had a limit. No, they had a limit.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. That was
But it's
where
different states, though. You're talking about New York to Wisconsin.
But why
sure
would they
it's
limit the amount of people? Like, why would they put a
Because it'd be
limit?
cold.
It's like, come if you can.
The New York governor or whatever, like, only allowed so many. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Well,
it's not
I mean,
even really
that's why
the
they
team.
postponed the game. I totally
Right.
agree. But it's like, it's still your responsibility as the team to manage this. You can't rely on volunteers
Do the
to
Packers
show up
do the
for
Packers
hot chocolate.
do the Packers pay them
Yeah,
to shovel it out, or do they just do it
Yeah.
because they're
they
owners of
pay
the
them.
team?
They pay them, but they don't limit.
I'm like just with Matt though because it's a little bit different. I feel like we're getting off page of the actual game,
I mean,
but
it is a little different. I'm
it's a
just
little bit
saying.
different though when you're getting like 18 inches of snow versus you guys getting like 6 or 8. It's like 18 inches that are constantly coming down. It's like eventually people are going home, dude. They're not fucking.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. That's why I'm saying it is the Bills organization to fix that problem. They've had all year to be ready for that.
They're spending what, $2 billion on a new stadium, and they're not doing a dome.
Apparently, the shape of it, because it's modeled after some football club stadium in Europe, and it's still covered, but it doesn't shut.
Well, it's
but
the
it still
it's the canopy.
shields like 70% or something like that.
It's the canopy design, so that you're.
I hate that because on the field, it's like the Vikings. The Vikings had those windows, and it's like when you're trying to watch the game, half of it's like you can just
you
see
got
the
these
window,
giant gold bars of sunlight.
Yeah, I hate that. I feel like that's such a bad.
Vegas is like that too. I think.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Ford Field has one corner that is exposed like that. Could one corner of Ford Field.
Ford Field. Okay. I didn't hear the field that you said.
Yep, it does have
is
one
SoFi
corner
like that.
I don't know.
I feel like SoFi, like at least one of the sides is like all open.
Yeah, I don't know why that's a new design, man. That's
I think they're open, but it's a level above, so it can't shine down on the field. Okay. You might get a bad seat and just have the sun in your eyes, but if you block it in, you might be okay.
All right, so for me, and I guess I kind of picked it that way too. But three out of the 4 matchups are matchups we've seen in the regular season, which I think is kind of cool to see in the playoffs now. Yeah, so we've got Ravens, Texans, Lions, Bucks, and Bills, Chiefs.
Ohio State just hired Bill O'Brien.
Why?
Because they want to keep sucking.
That's a terrible signing. He did awful with the Texans.
Maybe he won't. I mean, Urban Meyer was a good coach, but a bad person. So maybe they're looking for a bad coach and a good person.
Yeah, maybe. Well, what were you saying, Matt?
Yeah, so 3 of these matchups are in. I guess I don't know if that's why I picked it that way. Maybe I just kind of instinctively did that. So I chose the winners of those 3 matchups that have during the regular season they won those matchups.
Already had the record against them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
And that includes the Bills. And maybe that's why. And I think this is going to be our best.
Yeah,
I think this one's the best matchup.
Last, they know.
Yeah, and it could again.
I'm just gonna be pissed, man. If the Chiefs win with Mahomes bullshit, I'm just gonna be so pissed because it's like we keep talking about. We mentioned at the beginning of the season when the Bills were like, just like the Bengals. We're like, the Vikings, It's like if the Bills lose this game, it's gonna be so much on Josh Allen and so much on Sean McDermott, and it's just like if they lose because of officiating, it's such bullshit. Like,
well, so what I don't want to see, and this will actually pivot the other way too, though. What I don't want to see is Mahomes going down for that last drive, and we get a dumb late hit out of bounds, type of thing that just sets them up, right?
Roughing the passer,
just a stupid penalty like that. But I will say, one thing that did piss me off in the Bills game, I don't know if you saw the clip of Josh Allen fake sliding.
Yeah.
And then he runs in for a touchdown.
Someone did that in college too. I think it was the guy from TCU.
Okay.
Got his name. And
he did
fake slide shit, and then everyone gave up, and then he ran in.
Yeah, and then we saw him then actually slide and
then get hit,
and then he gets hit. So to me,
right,
kind of the same thing. I don't want to see that as a way to bail them out and win a game, but at the same time, Josh Allen better not be doing that shit, and he's either got to slide or take the hit. So
yeah, we'll I think both of these quarterbacks are totally capable of getting a lick and the refs have to call it as such. Let it
I mean,
be
dude,
a
it's
more
getting so
physical
bad,
match.
dude. Like Mahomes gets pushed with one hand, and it's literally just like, what is going on? It's like, dude, you're a quarterback with the football. You're gonna get touched. I hate to tell you that, sweetie. It's like it's time to get hit. It's like,
Yep.
And the thing is, and we talked about this before, but before Mahomes was even in the NFL, I watched Clay Matthews get penalized with this back-to-back times where he sacked a quarterback with the ball, and they called it roughing the passer. I said, this motherfucker isn't passing shit.
yeah,
You know, he's not even passing quarterback you. Like, he's just going down with the ball. Like, he is a running back. Like, oh my God. And it happened back-to-back times. I mean, you know, you're halfway down the field at that point. So I definitely I agree with you. I don't want there to be any referee bullshit. Like, just like I saw with the Cowboys and the Packers. Like, if it's gonna be physical, let it be physical the entire game.
Yeah.
That's simple. None of this I didn't announce, or we didn't get the guy who said he was eligible downfield and everything else. Like, cut all that crap, you know.
Yep.
Like those are the ones that, like, that's the kind of stuff that happens this time of year. That's like, we already had this problem. We should have had it fixed by now.
Yeah. I mean, like I mean, like not even being an Eagles fan, like arguably Chiefs won the Super Bowl because of one of those flags. Like they called the pass interference that was not called all game long until it was
Right.
Patrick Mahomes on the line. It's just like it's so exhausting. He's seeing that, and then Chiefs fans not being like realistic enough to understand, like, yeah, that shouldn't have been called.
That's like the Dez caught it thing. It's the same thing. It's like, I don't care if he caught it or not. There was plenty of time. Rodgers has literally stuffed it down your throat in 30 seconds or less, just like your mom, time and time again. So just because Dez caught it doesn't mean we don't still fuck you over. Like, we're still gonna win.
The
So
playoff records from last week, though, fancy the first time in the lead all season long at 4-2. Could have been 5-1 if he took his Packers.
I had to use my reverse jinx, my one Uno reverse card. I needed it, and it worked.
And then Matt at 3-3, and then I went 2-4. I went with a lot of like, I was trying to get like more underdogs, and then trying to like, you know what I mean, trying to like mess around with it. Just because we all know that first round can get dicey.
The first round was so crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, Rams easily, they had that game, they lost it. You know.
Yeah.
But
what we're gonna do is a fun little thing before we go to trivia is with what's left with these teams. We are going to pick the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and kicker that are left. So the teams that are available to pick from are the Chiefs, Bills, Texans, Ravens, 49ers, Packers, Lions, and the Bucks. I'm going to start with you, Matt. Out of all these teams, who is the best quarterback in the playoffs at the moment?
So I want to say Jared Goff,
even though he picked Lamar Jackson over him.
But the pick I'm going to make is Lamar Jackson, because I still think he's the overall. He's got the running, he's got the throwing, he's got game management. I think he is the best quarterback we've got here.
Fancy.
I got Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
I've just seen it too many times.
Earlier,
I've seen it too many times.
Yeah, he wins. That's whether it's the refs or not, he wins, right? So
yeah, just the stuff he does. Yeah,
I went Josh Allen because, you know, we mentioned earlier with the touchdown stuff. It's like, you know, you look at him being number 5 on the passing yards, and then him being tied for first with rushing touchdowns. It's like, you know, you add the passing touchdowns and his rushing touchdowns, and he leads the league in touchdowns. The guy scores points, and we talked about points over everything, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? If you're scoring points
and interceptions, right?
What's that?
And interceptions,
leading the league. No.
Where's he at on that? I don't have that pulled up. I didn't think about it. I just know he throws like a pick.
Sam
at least one
got to
game.
be leading in.
Yes.
Sam Howell's leading it. But
I forgot about that.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to take 48 touchdowns total.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely.
I mean, you've literally picked his stats when they were hidden because you wanted more points. So it's
I agree. I agree.
I mean, if your quarterback went up and threw 400 yards for 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions every single game, you'd be happy with that. And then the next one we got running back, which I feel like if not,
we have a consensus, right?
Yeah, and we all went CMC, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure that we there wasn't any
hey, Aaron Jones
Singletary, you know.
Listen. Aaron Jones 3 touchdowns, right?
I mean, the Cowboys. He's the Cowboy killer.
Yeah. So that you'd almost think that you could lean that way, but at the same time, no.
Also, I know the podcast we're getting closer to the end here, but how are you guys both not back in jerseys?
I didn't want to get mine nasty with tattoo shit on it.
but it's only once you just put your sleeve through and you're good.
I know I didn't want to get it like on there because it's like covered in like this ointment.
Doesn't sound like it's dedicated. You're worried about ointment. They're worried about winning games.
Hey, I do have a signed Love jersey and signed Aaron Joe's helmet that will be here Monday. It will be back here. It's legit. Fucking Beckett.
It doesn't say Jordan Love. It says Jordan Live. Like, Jordan Live, and someone just signed it on eBay. Like, yeah, fuck it. Let someone will buy it.
It's Kelly Green instead of Packers
Yeah,
green.
exactly. And then the next position out of all this one, I feel like me and Fancy talked about earlier. I feel like this one might have been one of the toughest ones. Matt, who are you going to take for wide receiver here? Out of all the wide receivers that are available.
All right, so I wavered on this one, but my Detroit pride.
You wavered.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you, Amon-Ra, is I think the elite wide receiver. But I do think Diggs has potential to have the game that that decides his game. I think he could be the factor. So again, kind of a toss up for me in that regard, but Amon-Ra is the best receiver right now for the Lions team.
Who do you pick?
Amon-Ra.
Okay. Fancy?
I picked Mike Evans.
Ooh.
Because I think you take him out of the picture, and I don't think the Bucs are there.
That's fair. I feel like you could say that about. I feel like you could say that about Zay Flowers. I feel like you could say that about Diggs.
I agree. I definitely looked at Nico Collins, and I definitely thought about Zay Flowers.
That was a sneaky one. I was wondering if everyone would go there because Nico has been a huge impact on his team.
Oh, he really has. He really has. I definitely thought Nico Collins, and it was one of those ones where it's kind of like a three-way coin toss. I was like, any one of these guys, I've watched him put up fabulous numbers as far as DraftKings goes. And I was thinking about how he looked against the Eagles, who I held in pretty high standards as far as the NFC goes overall. I was like, man, that even with a couple drops, I was like, fuck, man, this guy's still just good.
I feel like Mike Evans' stat line wasn't that great against the Eagles.
It wasn't. But how he's been overall.
It's the game Mike, though, right? So it's like, he's like you had mentioned, with, he's going to be like you mentioned Diggs earlier, Matt, like Mike Evans is that guy too, where it's like, when you talk about guys like Amon-Ra, you talk about, I'm surprised Debo hasn't been discussed either. It's like, you talk about these guys, it's like, if these guys have a game, that's it. Like, it's like they are the deciding factors of some of these matchups.
Yeah.
With that being said, I did lean more towards, like you were saying, Matt, with Diggs. I did, but his inconsistency within the last 7-8 weeks just hasn't been there. I know he had 8 catches for 60 yards. It just was not enough. I also went Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think, one of the youngest receivers out of all of them that we talked about.
No IU,
and just he's just an absolute stud. So that was my pick on the wide receiver there. So two of us went St. Brown. And then the next position we have tight end. Matt, what's your favorite tight end?
Laporta. Going back to back.
Fancy just to get Fancy was grinning.
Yeah,
I knew who he was picking.
Yeah, so if Laporta is able to go again, hopefully that knee is going to hold up again.
Did you massage it for him?
Absolutely.
Like this.
All right, well, equal sign that and edit something else into that, and we're good to go.
Clip it. No, so Laporta, even with limited touches last week, he was still a game changer, right? He still was able to get that fourth down.
The plays he's in are the plays you have to keep an eye on.
Yep.
Yeah. So he can still get that fourth down. When you got to get a touchdown, he got it, right? So I think that's why, to me, I love the fact that we've got a rookie that he is the one that you can go to if you need a for sure catch.
Yeah, love it.
So I picked him.
Fancy?
I went with Laporta.
Okay, well, we have a 3-way tie for Laporta. I went Laporta as well.
When I put Kittle and I took Kittle off because I figured everybody was going that way.
When I look at Kelsey and I look at Kincaid, Kincaid, another rookie though. We looked. I didn't realize this, but when you look at, not to get off track, but when you look at tight ends this year, the tight ends in the first year that they're drafted typically do not do very well. The Packers have done a very good job of drafting tight ends. I know that you guys have a couple rookie tight ends that haven't had the most amazing seasons, but they're going to be good players in the long run. But you look at Dalton Kincaid, rookie, Sam Laporta, rookie, Jake Ferguson, rookie, right? It's like there's some good rookie tight ends out there that, I feel like had a sneaky year that a lot of people don't realize that they had. But when I look through it, Kittle is like one of those guys where I feel like it's a Mike Evans kind of guy where it's like it's either 140 yards and 2 touchdowns or it's 2 catches for 30 yards. That's Kittle because he's a great blocker. Not saying he's not good. It's like
he's
some
useful.
games
He's just not always putting up numbers.
Yeah, some days he's schemed. Like some games, it's like he might just be blocking for CMC, and that's all he's got to do. And then next week they're going to expose his matchup down the field, and it's going to be great. And he'll go for 100 yards. But I think the overall, when I think about tight ends, like I think about Rob Gronkowski, guys that got it done in the end zone, and it's like Laporta is starting to become that guy. And even Rob Gronkowski said it himself. I don't know if you saw the podcast, but he's talked about like Sam Laporta is becoming a tight end that reminds him of himself. He's a guy that's going to go up and get it in the end zone, and he's also a guy that's going to maneuver his way into the end zone. He's not just a one-way guy where it's like, run a curl flat and hope that he can, hold on to the football. It's like this guy can run slants. This guy can go deep. This guy can do whatever he needs to do. And I mean, you saw it on the first drive, wasn't it? He was the first touchdown, wasn't he? With right, or go off to Laporta right through, right in the end zone. And it's like even with a hurt knee, the guy's scoring. So I feel like when you look through these, 2 years ago, a year ago, we'd probably be saying Kelsey easily, right? But you got to go with a guy that's constantly getting in the end zone. He's got a nose for it. So, but then we got defense. I'm interested to see what your input on defense is. Matt, we can start off with you again. What defense did you go with?
So I went with the Ravens. I think statistically, they are the standout out of this group. And I just think, I don't know if you have to waver the fact that they're, at home. That's the deciding factor on how well their defense is played at home. I think the Ravens
when they're at home, I think that stat is crazy. It's like 16.2 points allowed per game or some shit like it's something crazy. Like
exactly.
It's nuts. So, Fancy.
I picked the Niners.
Okay.
I mean, they're just solid. They for 2 years now at least. Kind of hoping for like a little jinx there. I hope they suck.
Yeah, Fancy's going for
they fall apart.
Yeah, it's that classic, like, he's either gonna be right that Packers put up 0 points. He's like, I told you guys, 49ers defense, or like they get lit up. He's like, hey,
I'd be wrong 1,000 times. But the thing is it's like, and we saw this with the Cowboys. It wasn't in a row. We saw this with the Eagles. We saw it with the Chiefs, and we saw it with the Niners. We saw these juggernaut teams fall apart for like a little stretch where nothing was going right. And that easily could happen. And if that happens one time in the postseason, that's all it takes.
Yep.
If it happens for one quarter, it could be too much.
Yep.
And so that's one of those things where I do think the Niners have it in them. As far as if they are there, and they are him.
Yeah.
And they are hymns, and hymns
I
are they.
I definitely agree. Like I said, the 49ers defense has just been too shaky. We said about it earlier. It's like if they show up, it's but it's
lights
like
out.
Most of the time in this season, it's just been like where is Chase Young? Where is Nick Bosa? Where is these guys at?
I hope that's what we're saying on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean,
I fucking hope.
We'll see. I went with the Ravens, just like Matt did. You can't beat the numbers. You can't beat the stats.
Yeah.
Especially at home.
I do like them both at home.
Kicker should be the same for all of us as well, right?
Unanimously. Ready? Tucker.
There
we go.
Yep, Tucker. So we all had different quarterbacks. We all shared same running backs. We all had, me and Matt shared St. Brown. We all went Laporta. Me and Matt both shared the Ravens, and then we all shared Tucker. So we shared kicker, tight end, and running back. So 3 out of 6 we picked the same. So yeah, just a fun little thing that Matt.
I almost picked a different tight end. I just
assumed more
people are going with Kittle. So that's why I went the other way.
I did think about it.
I figured me and Matt would. I crossed him out. I crossed him out and put Laporta. Like I literally did because I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll change my
You should have
mind.
known that Matt was going to go Laporta, though.
I didn't
Obviously,
think you were going to go Laporta.
That's fair.
I expected it to be with
I haven't been
Matt.
like 2
I
leagues
thought
ago.
it
I
was
was
going to
happy.
be
I was happy to have
a
him.
straight Lions, just pick. That's what I expected out of Matt.
I got you.
So
well, that leads us to our last segment of the episode, which is everyone's favorite, right, Matt?
get it.
Trivia section, and so we'll check you guys out over there.
All right, so for this week's trivia time, again, trying to stay on theme of playoff style questions. I tried to think of a divisional round type question, but it was a little bit too nuanced. So instead, we're just overall playoffs is just kind of what we're going for here. So there's 8 coaches in the playoffs still standing right now. So if you need help naming those coaches, I'll give you that. But hopefully you guys can walk through it. I need you guys to rank the coaches that are currently in the playoffs by the number of playoff wins they currently have.
We don't need to know the wins. We just need to know the rankings, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, obviously that'd be crazy. You'd be a savant if you can name them as well. But
so
yeah,
Lions are last. Whoever MCDC's last. I just want to point that out. I want to make sure everybody heard me. MCDC is last.
So you are incorrect, but
Miko Ryans is last. Well, they're tied.
Oh, because last week is okay.
tied for last.
Tied for
last.
okay. Hey, that's still last. So still right. Okay.
Hold on, and write it down. Don't just blurt it out.
We're not like working as a team.
Well,
like we
can,
always do.
But...
I just thought like we always kind of.
I'm just saying, like I'm trying to get it down. That way, we're not just like
okay.
if we're gonna go start from the bottom and go up. That's cool.
Oh no,
like,
I was literally just making a joke.
Like boom, boom, boom. Like
I was just making a joke about the Lions.
Oh, well, still
that's
we got the bottom 2 though. So there's 8. So we have 7, 8.
I want to say
Andy Reid is at the top for us.
Yeah, Andy Reid's number 1.
Yep, that one should stick out.
And what do you think John Harbaugh is number 2 then?
He's got to be.
Correct.
You don't win a Super Bowl and not be up there.
He had to be up, and they've been to a couple of championships too with.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
the Niners.
Okay,
Niners are 3rd.
So, but no.
So hold on though. You are missing one still tied for 1 win.
Okay, yeah, well, we're just working through it. So
there's 3 tied for last place.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what about Todd Bowles?
There you go. Okay, so now you got everybody with 1 win down at the bottom.
Okay.
So Fancy, we have 5 out of the 8. We're missing Sean McDermott. We're missing your coach or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
And we are missing. So that's 2.
McDermott is Niners.
No, McDermott is not on that. McDermott is Bills.
Okay.
And then the 49ers is Kyle Shanahan.
Shanahan.
I want to say
he's number 3.
Yeah.
Shanahan,
because they went to
LaFleur, Bills.
Yeah.
So
Shanahan, McDermott, and then
Shanahan, LaFleur, McDermott. I think
McDermott, LaFleur. They've been to like 2 or 3 AFC championships. I don't know.
Lock it in, boys.
LaFleur's been to 2.
Okay. All right, we'll lock in LaFleur. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
So we're gonna go Andy Reid.
Correct.
Harbaugh.
Correct.
Shanahan.
Correct.
LaFleur.
Nope.
I was right with McDermott. Damn it.
How many?
What's 5
for
McDermott and 3 for LaFleur.
Oh,
that's it. 3 postseason wins.
Correct.
As of today.
Yes.
How did you guys get to 2? You guys definitely get the 2 championships then. There's no way.
Yeah, we did because Rodgers went back to back. Man, unless one of those was Mike McCarthy's last season.
Then. Yeah, wouldn't have been with LaFleur then.
Wow. I felt good about that McDermott one too because I was like, he's been to like 2 AFC championships, which that's where the 5 comes from. So
Yeah.
So it'd be Reed, Harbaugh, Shanahan, McDermott, LaFleur, Bowles, Campbell, Ryans.
Yep.
Damn it, Fancy.
Yeah. Hey, good work though. That was good work through. All right. So part 2
I
of
was
this.
confused because that was that weird. Not to cut you off. The weird. Like the Bulls. Like he was like coaching during the Brady thing, but like then it was what's his name? The old man with usually the Cardinals head coach.
Bruce
Yeah,
Bruce Arians,
Bruce Arians. So, like, but then he like wasn't like full coach, but then he was like half. You know what I mean? It was like that weird. Like he was too old and then had health issues. So Todd Bowles was in. I was like, I don't know where he's at. Like I don't know what's considered like his win.
That's a good point. Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's
but
why
not
I was like, I wasn't touching that name yet because I was like, I don't know.
All right, so since you already hit 2 names here, should be somewhat of a hint. There are 2 sets of families that have playoff wins. One from each family is in the playoffs right now. So, I mean, I can just give it away. One has a brother and one father that has also been in the playoffs.
Harborough.
So Harbaugh and Shanahan. Okay. Out of those 2 couples, 2 sets, who has the most playoff wins?
I gotta say Harborough. You talk about 2.
We got Jim and John,
Yeah.
and then we got Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan.
Out of wins, I don't know. My gut tells me Harborough. What about you, Fancy?
I remember Shanahan before, though. It's hard to go against the Harbaugh brothers because if you both get to the if you both get to the Super Bowl against each other,
been the Super Bowl, right? Yeah, I mean that's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that.
Though. I feel like that's got to be the trick.
I think the other.
Well, you also have a championship winning head coach in Mike Shanahan as well.
Yeah, I think Mike Shanahan was just doing it longer. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I feel like.
We can lock in Shanahan.
Yeah, we'll try that.
Shouldn't have wavered. 16-14.
Damn it, Fancy!
Jim and John.
I was with you, man. I was like, it's tough, dude.
It didn't sound like you were with me, so then I got nervous, and then
I would
have been perfect on trivia if I would have just stuck with my gut. Yeah, that's interesting though. Like,
so I know I didn't word it right.
No,
I was trying to not give it away at the same time, but yeah, I thought that's interesting. We've got basically you got the legacies, right? You've got the father and son. And then you've got the 2 brothers getting it done in the playoffs.
And the one brother might be coming back too next year.
Yep.
So John's gonna hopefully keep it going this season, get the wins up, and then Jim's gonna sign somewhere and hopefully win some more as well. So on top of that, we have before we end the pod here, we have Bill Belichick interviewing today, his second interview now with the Atlanta Falcons. Kind of crazy to think about. If Bill goes there, the rumor is that their 8th pick is going to get traded to the Bears for Justin Fields straight up, and then Bill would have Justin Fields, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, all under 24, which would be crazy to think about with what Bill could do with that, and one of the top 5 run defenses in the league that Atlanta has. That'd be lethal. And then I got word today with the Bears. The Bears interviewed Cliff Kingsbury, who used to be the Cardinals head coach that just got fired before the Eagles offensive coordinator
in Thailand.
And what happened?
I think he's been in Thailand this whole time.
No, he's the offensive coordinator for the UCF or USC for
this whole last season.
Yep, for Caleb Williams. And so the Bears are interviewing him as their offensive coordinator because they plan on drafting Caleb Williams. So it was kind of a turning point in this offseason, this stuff that we'll be talking about in the future podcast, because you don't just interview a top quarterback's offensive coordinator unless you're thinking about going that quarterback. That way he transitions into that same system that he was used in college for. That way that transition is much smoother, and then the Bears just fire on all cylinders next year.
I hope we don't run into that scenario. I know you already talked about.
I guess that's all fake news. He came out and said it was all fake.
Okay, I was gonna
That's
say
what
'cause-
that's what I heard. Supposedly that was all rumors. It was stuff that his dad was saying. He said he declared for NFL draft. He's going to whatever team that picks him. He's
okay,
not.
because I was hoping
So,
it wasn't gonna be the Eli
Eli Manning.
Manning,
Yeah. So was I.
scenario again.
But
And
it's very enticing when you tell a guy, hey, we're gonna take you. We're gonna bring your offensive coordinator with you that you're more comfortable, and we have DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and we're gonna be in the draft. They're gonna be able to get that Anunzier or whatever the hell his name is from Washington. They're gonna be able to get him if they get the 8th pick for Justin Fields. So they can get him and Bowers from Georgia if they want to. It's like they could stack up an offense for this kid.
yeah, I mean they probably need a running back.
Bears?
Yeah. So
Yeah, maybe. But you
I
can always
mean-
find those like 3rd, 4th rounds too, though. It's like,
True.
they have a lot of draft capital right now, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out in the next few weeks because it's going to be one of those things where a lot of this is just going to happen out of nowhere for this. It's like all of a sudden it's like boom, 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 and then they like Bill Belichick signed here and Jim's over here and Caleb's getting drafted by the. It's going to be like really, really fast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot to keep up with, but constantly keep tuning in if you guys are listening and you guys want more information on that, on some inside stuff on what our thoughts on head coaches. We'll be going more into head coaching detail next week once we know a little bit more of what's going on. I know it's still kind of a musical chairs, if you will, with who's gonna stay, who's not gonna stay. Mike McCarthy they announced they're staying with him. So it's
Have the Eagles decided anything? Has there been any rumors?
They have not yet. Someone's getting fired. I know that. I don't know who, but someone will be getting fired. Whether it's Brian Johnson or Nick Sirianni, or if it's
anything
Matt
out of the
Patricia
Jets or the
or-
Carolina Panthers?
Who?
The Jets or the Panthers?
What about him?
I'm saying anything out of them. I haven't heard. Those maybe 2
Yeah.
people on the
Yeah.
hot seat as well.
Not sure. But the next few weeks it'll all start to unfold, and we'll get that info out to you guys as quickly and as efficiently as we can. But yeah, make sure you guys are following our socials. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Fancy Matt, you guys have anything else to say before we get off this episode here?
Hey, we're going to the Bay, and we're gonna put it on dock, and we're gonna win this shit, and we'll see the Lions in the championship.
I like it.
So I put my lucky Matt Millen
I
signed.
put my life savings on this game. I thought that's where that was going. Like
Matt Millen signed Lions hat in the background, right over my shoulder. And
I think I saw one of those at the Goodwill.
Yeah, I think they were literally just handing them out down the street.
Yeah, so that's from a a bad era of Detroit Lions.
Got rust and mold on
it. So the Lions.
But what I'm transitioning to, what I'm trying to say, if you let me,
fans, heard it here first.
That's from the bad era. Okay, that's the 0-16 Lions. Now
I think it was a bad era. Like you said, bad era. Like when isn't that just until this year?
That's awesome. Thanks for that. This year, Sunday, we see the change in the tides. We see the new Detroit Lions home playoff atmosphere. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Lots of good football. Like I said to you guys earlier, after this weekend, we only have 3 games left. So sit down on that couch, soak into that chair.
Soak it in. Win or lose, just be happy.
Just enjoy it, man. I've watched every playoff game this weekend, and that's just what.
Don't forget the Pro Bowl.
No, I will not be watching.
We have the Pro Bowl to look forward to.
I will not be watching that.
Also, don't forget Olympic flag football has been approved, and we'll be there for 2028 or 2026. So,
WWW. But yeah, let us know in the comments who you guys are taking. Let us know your picks. Lock them in before this weekend hits. This will be posted on Friday, so you guys will be listening to this on Friday. So it'll be before the games, so you guys will have our inputs and all of our info out there. So let us know in the comments. Who you guys are taking. And we will catch you guys next week with the NFC North NFC Championship. Right?
Absolutely.
Gang.
All right, guys. Later.
See ya.